Japanese women are not easy necessarily. So this time we're going to talk about some misconceptions that guys new to Japan have about Japanese women. Of course, I'm mainly going to focus on passport bros, but I'm not just singling you guys out. This mainly goes for any guy coming here, for vacation, just for work, who's really not familiar with Japanese women and Japanese culture, and maybe has some preconceived notions that about Japanese women, similar to like what I had when I first came here in 2004. So I'm going to try to let you know, based on my experience, things that I've found are completely false that I had no idea were wrong. In some spots, I'm also going to include some videos to kind of help you get a better idea of what I'm talking about. So it's not just my opinion that you're following. And hopefully by the end of this video, you'll have a better idea of what to expect when you do meet a Japanese girl. When you're coming here, you strike up that conversation, you feeling the vibes, and it'll give you a better chance of being successful with her in the short or long term, whatever you want to do. I'm not trying to judge at all. Honestly, I'm trying to help and bridge the gap between you guys so it's smoother on both ends based on the experience that I have. So let's get into it. So number one, we have to get it out of the way right now. Japanese women are not easy necessarily. I'm not judging based on your skill as a dude or player, pimp, whatever in these streets. I'm not judging based on that. I'm just saying in general. I don't categorize Japanese women in the easy category. Now, you might have seen some content online saying otherwise, but please keep some perspective in mind. This is content from people, one, who probably building their brand around being able to grab women in a lot of different places. Two, people who are just fresh off the boat going to nightlife areas. And three, people might be lying or whatever, to be honest with you, or skewing kind of information or facts or the way that they model the video to kind of imply that they're getting something that they might not be getting. Also, we're not seeing the quality of the girls that these dudes are getting with. Just like, if you want to just like smash whatever Japanese girl you're with, you can get, and you don't care about quality at all, there might be someone there for you, especially if you go to like, a dirty dirt nightclub or like a bar, whatever, like a dive bar. I'm sure in your town as well, there's a really dirty, grimy bar that you can go to. And if you're lucky, you can come up on something. But is that really what you're trying to get, versus what you're seeing representing like Japanese women and what they actually look like? So I think there is a gap between those. Remember, Tokyo is a huge city. It's like over 10 million people that live in the Tokyo metropolitan area. So there are literally millions of women here, and in that percentage, there are some women who are probably easy. But that doesn't mean that all Japanese women are generally easy. And generally, Japanese women are much more relationship oriented than just more for like nightlife flings and one night stands and those kind of things. So going in there with a different mindset will really help you when you're approaching Japanese women. Not like how you do, if you are on that time, like how you go to maybe a local bar, a local club, or just hanging out at the mall or wherever you go to pick up girls in your hometown, in your area, or even other countries in Asia. Kind of change that mindset, and you got to throw that out, because that's not really the reality here at all. And even though it might exist in some spots, that's not the norm. And going around with that as your norm, especially in the Tokyo area, let me say that, I'm not going to represent all of Japan, every area, some areas, Western Japan, areas closer to military bases here. Maybe the personality of women in Osaka is very different than it is in Tokyo. So I'm not going to just make a blanket statement about all Japanese women all over Japan, but especially in the Tokyo area, which it seems like a lot of people from the West are coming to Japan to really sightsee here. That's what I want you to kind of get in your head. Generally, like, Tokyo people are more similar to East Coast people on the U.S., New York, D.C., Philadelphia, Boston. So they're much more conservative, much more a little colder. Other people from other Japanese areas say they're colder a lot here than they are in other areas. So but they're also more relationship minded as well in general. So you're not really gonna find, like, in Starbucks, you're not really gonna find a girl who wants to get down with you, just because, you only live once, kind of thing. It doesn't really work like that. But I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm not saying it can't happen, but just keep that in mind when you're here. Number two, all Japanese women are definitely not submissive. One thing I want you to think about when you're dealing with Japanese women is that basically we're all human. So we're all human, and even though we have different cultures and different upbringings, we all have the base tools in our mind and our bodies. So Japanese women are really no different than a lot of women all over the world in their wants and their needs. Now, how they express it might be really different. So if you're putting it in through your own filter, what you're seeing might not be what you're picking up all the time. And I think with submissiveness, I think especially nowadays in modern times, I think that's a really important thing. One thing I would say though is that Japanese women are the way they express themselves is very different, and the way they assert themselves is very different, especially when first meeting someone, dating, and then after marriage. And I'm sure you might read some or listen to a lot of information online about like the difference between a Japanese girlfriend and a Japanese wife. To a certain extent, it's true. It's quite a bit true. It's like, I always say, like, I even tell Japanese women it's true. Like, Western women, my image is generally, they from the beginning or very early on in the relationship assert like what they want, and of course it changes over time, but you kind of generally can what you see is what you get. Japanese women, it's more like a Hadouken kind of, they or like a Kamehameha from Dragon Ball Z, and like they store up all that energy. They kind of, I'll let you have it, you got it, until a guy is locked in and married, and then they start putting the pressure on. Because this is very much a marriage-oriented society, they're basically looking to lock in their partner. Now, I'm not saying they're trying to trick guys or anything like that, but it's just the culture way things are. Like being overtly inclined to conflict or things like that, especially before you're dating, before you're invested in a person's locked into the relationship, isn't really to the advantage of a Japanese woman. But after you're married, then you start seeing the real. So you might see guys talking about their wife just completely switched up on them, but my take would be generally they probably weren't aware of some of the things that was going on in her head. Maybe language gap, maybe they just didn't care, or maybe they were just like oblivious to it. So that is also a big thing to really understand there, especially now in the younger generation of Japanese people. I think when I came to Japan, compared to when I came to Japan 20 years ago, Japanese women are much more assertive. And I can imagine compared to like, the 80s and the 70s, it's a completely different ball game. So just understand that she might not be able to communicate what she's saying. Don't think just because she's not saying it, she's not thinking it. That's one thing my wife had to put me on to. She just doesn't know how to say it in English. But I'm sure if your Japanese skill got up to the level where she could communicate with you openly, of course, generally speaking, you would kind of hear a completely different thing. And I see it with Japanese people as well. That when they're talking in English about one topic, they might seem all mousy and tentative and things like that. But when they say it in their native language, it's like, whoa, okay, you're a really strong-willed person, for men and women as well, like young and old. Think about it, if you try to say something in Japanese, you're not going to be able, something really deep or complicated, you're not going to be able to express what you really want to say. Same thing goes here. The language barrier isn't a big deal. The language barrier piggybacks on what I was saying before. Again, it's people aren't really able to express what they want to say deeply a lot of times, and it is a huge deal. Like, me too. I thought everything was peaches and cream my first couple years of my relationship, but as time passed, I realized there were a lot of issues that my wife, she was my girlfriend at the time, wasn't really saying to me because she didn't know how to. I couldn't really speak Japanese at that time, even though she could speak English, and we were fine, like laughing, dating, going on trips together. A lot of the deeper things, things that were bothering her, things we really needed to think about, major problems when we started living together that needed to be worked out, I just didn't know, and she didn't know how to explain it to me. So she just kind of ate that, and she just kind of built up that stress. So if you listen to some street interviews from Japanese people,
いいえ、
いいえ、どうしてですか？
言語の壁。
じゃあもしお姉さんが
流暢に言語を話せたとしたら、外国人と付き合ってみたいですか？
はい。
ちなみになんか特に好きな、なんか、国の男性とかいますか？
特にいないです。
特にいない。
いいえ、
いいえの理由は何ですか？
言葉が通じないことがストレスになっちゃうかなって。
でもしお姉さんが言語を流暢に話せたとしたら付き合ってみたいですか？
そうですね、それなら。
わかります。
Dating foreign people and the language gap when dating foreign people is a really big concern for Japanese women. Now, again, if you're in a nightclub and you just hang out listening to music and you just grinding, or you're in a bar or something like that, just drinking, it's fine. But those things get more and more complicated over time. If you're just coming here to have a good time and have fun, it might, for a day, a week, whatever, a day, a week, a couple weeks, it wouldn't be an issue at all. A month, a couple months, that's when things start getting real and things start getting quite a bit more complicated. So think about it. It gets more complicated over time is a real theme that I want you to understand about if you come to Japan and get that in your head. If you just have a short-term thinking, it's cool. Hey, do your thing. I ain't mad at you at all. At all. Do your thing. Be safe, and don't hurt nobody. Don't hurt yourself. I'm cool with it. Japanese women are all looking for a foreign husband. This is a tricky one, right? Because my thinking is that at the end of the day, all Japanese women are looking for a husband. Yes, actively looking for a husband. I think that's a really big difference. Western women as well, they're looking for a husband or say they're looking for a husband, but it seems like, again, I'm not tapped into what's going on in the West right now. I'm just judging based on what I see and hear in interviews. So my perception might also be a little bit skewed, but it seems like, more and more now with like dating apps, social media, things like that, the requirements and the hurdle is getting like higher and higher for in the West. And so many women, I don't think all, of course, I'm not going to pigeonhole all women, but many women tend to kind of think that it might not be my time. I need to live my life and live my truth and whatever people are saying now. And then, when I'm ready, the perfect guy will be there and I'll get married and we'll have the perfect life. And da, 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 da. Japan is a little bit different in that respect. It's not like women want to like experience their life and then no, if they meet someone and someone that they feel is right for them, they're on the track for marriage. So that person doesn't really have to be a foreign guy. It's any guy. Any girl you meet, in the back of her head, she's going to be marriage minded. If she likes you, in the back of her head, she's going to be marriage minded. It could be a one night stand. That's one thing I want you to get in your head. The one night stand you meet, she's probably going to be thinking about marriage, or the possibility of marriage. Not like, oh, I'm going to marry this guy, but even if you're only having fun and you spend a little bit of time together, in her mind, oh, could he be the one? It's kind of something that will be in the back of her mind. It doesn't matter how many guys she's been with. It doesn't matter what she's been on the choo-choo train a couple times or whatever. It doesn't matter. Like, that's something in her head. Like, you could be the one for her. And I think that point is very different from Western women. So, in the past, I'd say before my time, like I've heard like in the 80s and early 90s, because there were so few foreign guys in Japan, Western guys in Japan, yeah, marrying a foreign guy was seen as a very attractive thing. So, guys who came here in the 80s and the 90s, they might have easily gotten a lot more love for Japanese women because they were automatically kind of given that foreign guy boost, across the board. When I came, that foreign guy boost was only in certain situations and certain types of Japanese women. And I think now, because there are just so many foreign people here, I won't say it doesn't exist, but it's a lot smaller. And, don't think all the women are like, marry me as soon as you walk into a club or a bar or you step off the airplane. Just being here doesn't make you the man anymore. I would have to say, I don't want to say that, and I don't think being here made me the man when I came here. That wasn't why I came here. But especially nowadays, women are not really going to be interested in you and they're not going to want to marry you. And they're more focused on being able to provide as a husband. So looking at, projecting, simulating what their life trajectory will be like with you is also a really important thing. Japanese women, generally speaking, aren't really gold diggers, but they're gonna, if you're a foreign guy, they're gonna want to think about what their life is gonna be like with you. They are very traditional. Yeah, the traditional gender roles are another thing that's kind of getting clouded here, and it's really complicated. And again, I deal with it. I'm not gonna lie, I deal with it with my wife and my family. We're still figuring it out. And the image I had when I came here was that all Japanese women are so traditional, and they want to be home and they want to cook you food and make you dinner and do all these things. My thinking, my take on it at 42 now is that it's yes and no on that thing, where some women want to be traditional, but in an environment where their needs are taken care of. They do think of their husband kind of as like an ATM, not in a gold digger kind of way where, okay, you take care of the money, I take care of the house and the kids. That's kind of what it's kind of boiled down to. So they want to find a guy who can take care of all those things, and they just like don't have to work, live their housewife life. And maybe if they do want to work, sometimes they can do that. That's kind of what it's turned into. That's not necessarily the reality for most people here, but it is that way. But I would say there are women, a lot of women, who do feel that sense of responsibility for the family and who do enjoy taking care of kids and things like that. Now, the image of a wife, I'd say in Japan, is different from, again, across the board. If you talk to 100 married couples, you'll probably hear this. It gets kind of split down the middle after a while, and the wife and kids on one side and the husband on the other side. But if you listen to Japanese couples, I'd say that's more the case. But because of the economy, because of the currency, just the times that we live in, more and more women do work, full time, part time, whatever. But a man is expected to be the primary breadwinner here. So if you are, I mean, of course, if you're just like coming here for fun, for a holiday or things like that, just be aware of that. That again, women are more conservative. They are more marriage minded, and they are looking for someone they have like a possible future with. They're not gold digging you, but you got to understand, like, life here for women is a really strict kind of thing. It's really years behind the West. So choosing a guy, marrying a guy, giving up, essentially some cases giving up your career for a guy, is a really big kind of card to play for a Japanese woman, and they trying to make sure that they get the best hand possible in it. Now, if they do that, a lot of them are more willing to be traditional. But if you're just coming here on a holiday, that doesn't really matter to you. You just want to have fun, get a little something, get a little busy in the club. That's what I was on when I first came here. But so I'll give you some advice. If you are in that situation, make sure, I always tell young guys who are here, if you're here on holiday, here having fun, don't tell the woman that you're here for just a short time, not a long time. You're here for a good time, not a long time. Don't say that. That's an immediate turnoff to a Japanese woman, because in her traditional mindset, she can't see a future with you. Some don't really care. Some, might not be thinking too deeply about it. But just as a general rule, I hate saying lie to them, but just say maybe you just got here, or you're thinking about moving here, or you're coming to visit and you're going to do XYZ. I'm not saying exactly what to say, to guarantee you success, but saying that you're just here one time for a week and then you're going to be gone forever is not going to help your chances with a Japanese girl at all. If anything, it's going to be a huge red flag and a huge turnoff to her. I'm just going to leave it at that. You do with the information whatever you will, but just please understand, because it's partly based on the traditional mindset of Japanese women. Japanese women are not necessarily shy and demure. It goes back to something I said earlier. How they express it is different than Western women. So it might seem like she's being shy. It might seem like she's being quiet. It might seem like she never sticks up to herself and follows whatever you're doing. But she's just showing that to you for a few different reasons. It might be her game, how she's thinking about getting you, and then she'll reveal that later. It might be the language barrier. She doesn't know how to say it, so she just holds it inside, right? You don't know. It's really based on each person. Sorry, one more. You might not be able to pick up on it. She might be showing you that she's frustrated and you're kind of getting on her goddamn nerves, but because you can't pick up on it, you just kind of gloss over it completely. Maybe you don't care. Maybe, it's not a big deal for you, but just don't think that Japanese women are automatically just like la 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 and going on with whatever you say. they are women, they are human, and they have human emotions just like any other woman that you've met.
It's hard for us to be taken seriously sometimes because of those JAB actresses, those super cute, sexy anime characters and idols. People think that all Japanese women must be very easy とかね。As myself, as a YouTuber, it's been hard to be taken seriously, right? Some people don't really take my content seriously and then watching my channel just because Japanese girl. And then once I got married to someone, many people left because they didn't care about content. Yeah, it's been like that. It's already kind of hard to be taken seriously, not as a cute, submissive, easy Japanese girl, but as a grown-up adult woman in general. And then recent YouTubers, right? Especially those street interviewers, like focusing on that negative sides of Japanese women doesn't help anything about my situation, other women's situation who are doing everything right.
I can't speak of like women all over Asia, and I do put Japan in a separate category from other Asian countries. Like I've been to several other Asian countries in my time, and I do put Japan in a completely different category. Just like how you think about, the unique culture here of, Japan, traditional culture, modern culture, pop culture, otaku culture is very specialized here compared to the rest of the world and the rest of Asia. Think about the way that they communicate with each other the same way. Don't just put, all that other stuff in a unique category and then approach Japanese women with the same mindset that you do of women in your home country. So, think about it that way. So if you do those things, the odds of your short-term, even mid-term success with Japanese women will increase exponentially. Trust me, I've seen it happen. I've not like coaching, but oblivious people fresh off the plane in places. I'm like, no, don't do that. Do this. Think of it this way. This is what's going on. Not like a professional love coach or anything, but just hanging out, drinking, helping people out, right? And so these points are really important to remember when you're in that situation. Now, there's one more important thing that you need to understand as well, especially if you do get past the initial stage or things do progress a little bit longer. How are you going to maintain contact with her? How are you going to keep things flowing? And if you do want to know more about that, there's a really interesting video right here that'll help you out.